Good morning. Another day, another interesting discourse had happened in the VTubing scene on Twitter. Now, this isn't anything that you have to consider to be bad. It'd be like, oh my god, what happened in the VTubing community again? It's actually like a very interesting discourse that I am seeing going on about Live2d rigging. You know, like the stuff that helps VTuber models move around and stuff, like how I'm talking to you right now. And the reason why I think it's so interesting is because I didn't realize how many other creators are just struggling out here and stuff. Do you know how expensive Live2d models are? Actually, I think the pricing of like VTuber models is probably what brought on this whole debate for it. It's interesting because I see a lot of VTubers constantly talk about, or well, the people who are just getting into VTubing, they'll start complaining about how expensive VTuber models are and how, oh, it should be cheaper and stuff. But then I'm seeing this here about how so many artists and Live2d modelers are talking about how they're financially struggling with the pricing that they currently have. And there's been like this whole discourse that ongoing on Twitter for the past couple of days about Live2d modelers raising their prices to help afford rent because a lot of them are underpaying and undercutting themselves. And again, I find this very interesting because a lot of people do complain about the pricing for VTuber models. And as someone who has done and worked on her own model before, let me tell you, it's a lot of work. It is not easy at all. When you're working with Live2d, it's not like you're just drawing and being like, okay, this is gonna take, this isn't gonna take that long. Like, no, it takes a lot of practice and skill, especially if you don't know what you're doing. It's basically making animations in a program that you don't really know how to use that well. And even though there are a ton of tutorials on how to use Live2d Cubism, it's still not that straightforward to get into. Like, I've been slowly working on like a beginner's guide for all that stuff, and again, like it's not easy. It's very overwhelming for a lot of people. And at the end of the day, even if you're getting it and it's like easy to you, it's kind of like tedious work because it takes time. And that's kind of what you're paying for too. You're paying to help save yourself some time, like a lot of time actually. It took me, when I first did my Live2d VTuber model from Moeko, it took me like a couple of months to actually do the rigging for it because I had to learn the whole entire program. This one here was animated by Chamomile, and I'm very happy to have her help me with this one because I just didn't have time to do it. Now you're probably wondering, okay, Mari, but why do you want to talk about this today? Like, okay, yeah, like sure, what else is there? Well, there was another Live2d modeler who had commented something that I thought was very interesting, and I think it brings up some really amazing points when it comes to VTuber models and why they're so expensive, and just things that like a lot of people just don't really understand when it comes to Live2d rigging. When you think about VTuber models and about the whole cost and price aren't equal, that sounds a little confusing because cost kind of dictates the amount of time and effort that an artist or a modeler, aka maker, aka rigger, whatever you want to call it, dedicates to a given model. And the price of a model is dictated by the value the client and the makers set to a given model. And what this is basically talking about is that, I don't know if you've noticed this or if you're a VTuber who's ever tried to like hire an artist or anyone like for VTubing, depending on what type of artist that you're hiring, like where they are geographically located, the pricing can be drastically different because in some countries, the US dollar costs way more than, well, people who live in America. And the reason why that's important is because, as I said earlier, it can take a while to do the animations on your model. But despite that, some people might not charge a lot of money because they kind of base their pricing around what their living expenses cost. So if you live in a poorly developed region and your cost of living is a lot lower than people in other countries, then there's a good chance that you might not charge as much simply because you're just trying to cover your cost of living. So you're still doing the same amount of work as somebody else from another country, but for a lot less money, since again, like this is your cost of living. But a lot of people in underdeveloped countries will also pay, or well, they'll make you pay like the same price that they see in the markets because we're on the internet, so we can see what everyone else is charging. So even if you live in like a poorly developed country, you can still charge as much as like the people who live in America because you can see the pricing of all the competitors and you can kind of price match that, or you can even like undercut it to get more clients because people are always looking for a good deal. And the scariest thing about that is this whole cost of the model, like the time, effort being spent on it, is kind of sad when you think about it because a lot of people dedicate so much time to make our models look really pretty for a lot less pay than what they should be getting. Like, have you ever worked at a job where you think, wow, I can't believe I'm doing all this work for this kind of pay? It's like I'm doing multiple people's jobs for the same pay as like the price of one job. That's kind of what it's like doing art or modeling for VTuber models. And I feel like a lot of new people who are coming into the VTubing scene don't really think about that, or they kind of take that for granted when it comes to how hard that their modelers and artists are working for them to be able to move. And it kind of feels like a lot of VTubers who want to get their models made have this like hidden anxiety when it comes to getting their models, because knowing that it can take a long time, what if it it takes like several months and then you're just kind of sitting here waiting for an update and they don't update you for like, I don't know, let's say you're getting some art done and they don't update you on the line art for like, I don't know, 2 months and you're like, you just did the line art? Again, like we don't know like the physical health conditions that the artist is going through, the living situation or anything like that. But in a VTuber's perspective, it's like, oh wow, I can't believe that took so long. Like, man, how long am I gonna wait to have to get my model and start doing things? You know, the only reason why I talk about this is because I'm still working on a VTuber model for a client. It's been a couple months, but I have been keeping up with them with the updates. So they know I've been working. But I do think about that kind of stuff too, because when I've tried commission for models and stuff like that, and it takes a while, I'm like, oh my God, like, am I ever gonna get it? And I understand that fear. I like see both sides when it comes to this point, because there are a lot of scams that happen in the VTubing scene when it comes to art and modeling. And something that I think a lot of people don't talk about is the fact that it's really difficult to just get another model. Like, I had spent about $300 on 2 different VTuber models. Like, one of them, it was for art. I got a deal where it was only like $150 to get like a Live2d model made, and then it was like another $150 to get like this sock puppet model. And both of those artists, it's almost been like a year since I've gotten any updates, and like they pretty much were like, yeah, sorry, I'm going through a lot of family stuff and I'm just not gonna be able to work on this anymore. And I'm like, okay, that sucks, man. And I didn't get refunds for any of them. One of them, I just told them, just give me the line art and like we'll just call it even. Like, it's whatever. I don't need you to try to like get another art commission to try to pay me back. Like, I'd rather you just finish my art commission instead of like trying to get another art commission. It doesn't make any sense. I'm just like, whatever, just give me the line art. As for the sock puppet one, I don't know what's going on with that. Like, I don't know. I thought they would be able to make this pretty quickly, but they're just, I don't know. I guess I'm just out $150 because that's just, yeah. And it sucks because I can't just be spending that kind of money just willy-nilly. Like, I had to pay like a lot of money the other night for some medical bills, which is why I had to record this at 4 a.m. But Mochi's okay, so you know, it's whatever. But man, it really sucks when money just has to be blown away like that. So when you think about it, a lot of VTubers can't, or they just won't get a second model, because I'm sure there are a lot of people who $150 is a lot of money, especially if you're in an underdeveloped country where you don't have a lot of income. And it's hard because your VTuber model can be a make it or break it point for the success in your career. That's something that I see a lot of people talk about. And when you're a VTuber trying to balance, well, okay, well, am I actually gonna get this VTuber model? Is the pricing right for it? Well, sometimes people would just rather opt to get somebody that's a lot more successful and established because they're trustworthy. And that's where I think the most interesting point comes in with this entire whole topic that 7M was talking about, which is the who is more important than the what. Sometimes it's not about how good the rigging is, it's about who did it. A lot of VTubers kind of know this, because when you have somebody who's really successful working on your art or on the animations, people take note of that. They're like, oh my gosh, you got your model made by this person? There's a reason why like those people cost so much, and it's because they have like a wait list, which actually is kind of interesting because 7M was talking about how these are like artificial wait lists, which I'll get into in a second. But still, I have noticed that depending on who it is that's working on your stuff, that can make a very big difference on the amount of eyeballs you're going to get. Because if you commission somebody who a lot of people don't know, then it's going to be a lot harder to market and promote your model versus you get somebody who's already super well established, has like a fan base, is well known in the scene, and they do like a whole Live2d showcase, and bam, suddenly you have a lot more eyeballs. You basically paid for a butt ton of promotion, and that's going to give you a big boost when you finally debut the model. So obviously when these people are very popular, their prices are going to skyrocket because it's supply and demand. Because it's supply and demand. But one of the points that I wasn't expecting him to make was this waitlist causes artificial shortages. So now what does that mean? Well, it goes back to that whole trustworthy like reputation. Like I said, I'm out like $300 just because I decided to give. This is my biggest gripe against like new artists, and I think other people who have probably had a similar situation can understand. I gave these new artists a chance to do something and to work with me and to help make me like a model. I was not very picky or pushy about any of this. I'm very patient because I understand health and life can get in the way. But I'm gonna call it how I see it. I got scammed out of $300 because I don't know why. They just, I don't know. And it's not like one of these things like, oh, did you commission them when you weren't big? No, I literally commissioned them last year. And it really sucks because it's like, well, I don't want to call them out. Like, that kind of stuff sucks. Like, I get it. Like, I understand what that's like. And I'm just like, it's whatever. I've had this issue with a lot of different artists and Live2d modelers. Like, this isn't just a one-time thing. Like, in my entire 4 years of VTubing, I have always had this problem with people just not working on my art commissions and just taking my money and just whatever. And it sucks because it's like, it's not like they're completely new and I'm just this gullible idiot. Like, no, they've worked on other people's stuff. They've worked on like very popular VTuber stuff too. So I thought they would be okay to go with. I don't know. It's weird. People either just don't, they just don't like me. They don't like my model, or I'm too much work. I don't know. I don't know what the issue is, but it sucks. And so because of this, I want to work with somebody who's a lot more well established. And the problem with that is the wait list. There are some artists who have a wait list for like an entire year. And the thing is, people will wait for that. That's just, they're okay with that because I'm sure there are a lot of other VTubers who had the same struggle as me. And we're just kind of like, dang, well, we can't just keep blowing money like this. It's not like money grows on trees like in Animal Crossing. And because of this, the wait lists go up and the pricing goes up because of supply and demand. And it's not even necessarily about the quality. Sometimes it's just because they just want to make sure that the person who they're hiring will actually do it. And I think that's really sad if you think about it, because this is people's money that we're just taking and just whatever because of just health and things like that. And like, it's a very delicate situation because I don't want to just be like, well, you know, artists, you need to do a better job at working on commissions and communicating, blah, blah, blah. But life gets in the way. Like I said, I have been taking a long time on this one client's model because I'm trying to balance out everything with making videos. I have to take care of my dog who's always trying to eat things and cause trouble, and I have to take her to constant vet visits, which are really expensive, and the vet that I have to take her to is like a half-an-hour drive because it's just what my pet insurance covers. And then I have to work here at the cafe, and it's like trying to balance all this stuff while still working on VTuber commissions. It's not something that I can do full-time, and I would imagine that's what it's like for a lot of artists. But on the same side, as someone who's supposed to be an entertainer and is waiting for their work, you deserve to get the stuff that you paid for and actually get it on time. Even when I would get somebody who would actually work on my stuff, they would delay it by a lot. Like they would say, oh, it'll be done by this date, and then it just isn't. So I never debut things on time because, well, to be frank, I just don't have the money to just keep paying them, be like, I need you to work on this now, focus on me and only me. Because that is a thing. I have worked with some people where they have literally admitted to putting my commission on hold because another VTuber paid them way more money to focus on theirs. That's how like the rush fee happens, and I've just had to wait longer. That's why I've never been able to debut my models on like my VTuber anniversaries in October or on my birthday because people, they just delay it since I can't financially compete with the other VTubers who will just throw money down to say, I want you to pay attention to me. And I understand why they do this because again, they want to get their art done first. And as an artist, you're going to pay attention to your client that gives you more money. That's just how it is. Or you'll give all of your attention to somebody who's really big and famous because, well, I mean, again, like when you're working with a really famous client, that also gives you exposure too. It's like a vice versa kind of relationship. And it's just really interesting seeing all of the different replies about this from both VTubers and mostly Live2d artists and modelers. And so I wanted to ask you, are you still waiting on your VTuber commission? Like, how long has it been? How much time has it been since you've either commissioned a model or getting the rigging done? And if you're someone who actually works on VTuber models, I'd love to hear how you go about your whole workflow process to see how you get things done on time, or if you're also struggling to get things done on time. Like, does life kind of get in the way for you as well? I don't necessarily think like there's a bad guy in the situation besides like the people who just straight up scam, but it is an interesting conversation that I think we should be having more on because I don't think a lot of people really take this into account, and then they get into this VTubing scene and they're like, oh my god, I got scammed and this person's bad, and then we have all these dramas that happen simply because of lack of communication. I think having as much communication as possible is really what's going to help keep the relationship a bit better, but still, you need to make sure that you're actually completing the work, of course. So yeah, let me know what you think down below. And I'm sorry if this video isn't that well edited. Like I said, I had to take Mochi to the vet the other night, which means I'm recording this once again at 4 in the morning, so I'm probably just gonna very lightly edit this, and hopefully this looks okay. I'm gonna have to have some coffee and some GAMERSUPPS and stuff later to wake up because I'm so freaking tired. But remember, you can still get free shipping today, all the way until May 2nd, by using my code MARI to get free shipping on any orders that's over $39.69 USD. So any international members in my community, well, this is something you really don't want to miss out on. So I'm very excited for tomorrow because I've already kind of planned what I wanted to say for tomorrow. Today was one of these things where I was like, oh wow, this happened the other day while I was like waiting to hear back from the vet about Mochi's like thing, and I was like, oh okay. So thank you so much for watching, and remember everyone, everything reminds you of something. Bye!